Do you remember the previous episodes that we've done already? So we spoke about asking people about myths that they were told growing up.
Right.
I just thought on Instagram, let me just try out this whole poll function, right? And you can just jump on
Right.
polls and you can ask people a question. So the first one I asked people about tea and why tea is it's such a big thing. And dude, the amount of flipping responses I got was insane.
Tea as
Um,
in
Tea
jar.
is in like jar, like a cup of tea, not green tea, but normal English tea. Yeah.
Right. Okay. This is
So
a poll of your one
it
or
was a
the
poll of mine on Instagram. This is prior to us even making that account,
okay.
making the Indian Doctor account. So I did it, and I just thought I'd share the responses on here. But I
Okay.
asked, why does tea make everyone feel better? And apparently, it's not
Good
like
question.
it's not just an Indian thing. There, people do it, like black people, white people, Moroccan
Mm,
people. They do the
mm.
same thing. People are like addicted to different types of tea, like
Yeah. Yeah.
peppermint
Yeah.
tea,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
What other ones was being said? So this person said most of their non-brown friends feel the same. Having a cup of tea makes them feel better. Is it because like maybe it's like a problem shared is a problem halved or something like that?
It's really good, because I remember this is slightly sideline story, but I was on a property course and they gave us a task to do. We had like 5-10 minutes to work in a group and write
Yeah,
an ad, like
yeah,
a paper ad to put. It's what we call a gold mine ad to put in the
mm-hmm.
newspaper. And essentially, what it was about is rather than having a estate agent, how can you get directly to a vendor to buy a house? You're buying
Yeah,
directly from a vendor and no estate agent. And so I remember when I wrote this, I said something like, the name of the company, which is made up, and I said, why not let's sit down for a cuppa and discuss
oi,
something about your property,
oi,
right?
oi, there you go.
Right. And then there's just what you said now, this whole notion of a cup of tea fixes everything. Like in hospital, anything can happen. You could have bad news, or you're a bit hungry, or whatever could happen. Would you like a cup of tea? It's like the first response. I don't, yeah, and
Yeah,
I would think it's very British, but clearly, like from responses, it's not.
it's
And there
not
is this
no.
universal thing about just sharing this drink. It's like it's just simple. It's a couple of leaves and some water, and then you sit there, and it just facilitates like fine conversation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is. You know what we could do? What would be really good, and I've told you this before, is let's get some mugs now, personalized mugs for the Indian Doctor Show, and we can have tea or
Okay,
other warm beverage
fine.
during the podcast. That might be quite nice, actually.
I'm
And I
fine
was
with
also
that.
thinking, why don't you put this as a poll? Put this as a poll that Indy and Karan or Dr. Jazz are going to get these mugs printed, and we want to put like a catchphrase,
Mm.
either one that we both say, like something for the show, or maybe that we say each, like Siddhi Gal. I know we've said that one quite a lot, right?
Which means
Um,
what, Garen?
which means
We got
straight to
told
the
off
point,
for this. One of our friends, Guppy, he called us and he said, it
right?
doesn't mean straight talk, it means something else. I was like, dude, I get it. It doesn't mean exactly that, but it's as
No,
close as we can
exactly.
get,
Yeah,
right?
no.
It
Yeah,
means
that's the kind
straight
of gist
talk,
of it.
honest, on point, like real talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely
Fine.
this week, man.
I'll put that
Create
out.
that. Let's put it out, and let's see what people think. But guys, if you're interested and you would like a personalized mug, right, from the Indian Doctor Show, then let us know, and we can get that to you as well. There you go.
Another one was somebody
Mm.
messaged me saying, with our jar is tea. I think the
Yeah.
herbs and spices help the blood flow and circulation. So
Right.
I messaged him saying, I agree. And then they messaged me back saying, you can't beat a cup of jar with soap in it. And I was like, cup of jar
Solve.
with soap? No. But I'm reading this in English, right? So it's just
Gotcha.
SOPH.
Gotcha.
I'm like, what's soap?
Sophie.
And I was like, so
Sophie.
I'm talking to her, and I was like, what's this brand of soap? Like, is it
Yeah.
is it like is it another one that's up against Tetley's or like PG Tips?
Mm.
And she's like,
Mm.
no, like Solve, like Indian tea. I was like,
Right.
what? Like, I'm not following. And she was taking the piss, and she was then saying, all right, next time you're in Birmingham or I'm in
Yeah.
Birmingham, I'll give you
Mm.
some. I'll get my mum to make you some. I was like, what are you on about? And I was reading
Mm.
it, and I was like, oh, you mean Solve? And she was pissing herself. She was like, oh my god, you actual idiot. You're Punjabi and you didn't read it in that same way. But that happens a lot, doesn't it? When you're
That
reading a
happens a
Punjabi
lot.
word
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
read it like,
Unless you
what?
have like brackets, Punjabi word or
Yeah,
something,
yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
make
yeah,
sense, right? But I felt like such a mug after. I was like, oh, no pun intended, but I did feel like an
yeah.
idiot, right?
Last week I was talking to one of my mentors, right, in the whole coaching space, and he said a name to me, and I was because I have a second screen up, I was googling it. He's like, "Have you heard about this guy, Sikh guy?" Well, I didn't know Sikh at this point. He said, "Zo Joe Jardines or
No,
something like that," right? And so I
Joe
started
John,
googling it.
right?
Right, and I started googling it, and I was like, "Oh, this person doesn't exist, man." He was like, "I was like, is he famous?" And he was like, yeah, like his company does like 23 billion last year. Like he's pretty big, and he's from Coventry, and now he lives in London and stuff. And I was like, anyway, so then I did a bit of googling, and I was like, oh, Jujare, Insa, and I was like, and then he was like, Jazz, how do you say? I was like, Jujare. He's like, Joja, Jujare. Joja. And then we spent a good 5 minutes just going over pronunciation, but it was so funny because sometimes, yeah, you're right, you see words and then you don't realize, your brain doesn't realize what the word is, and then it is a Punjabi word. And I was like, oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm sure that people name their kids now, and when they name them, they think, how are other people not Punjabi going to say this? So,
Right.
say if there's like, I've seen people name their kids recently like very non-Punjabi names because obviously it's quite hard to say our names. Like I get called Intavir, even though it's Indy, right?
Wait. What do you get called?
I get called Intavir instead of Indy.
You know what I heard?
What?
Like Insafir or
Insevere.
interview.
Ooh,
Yeah,
interview.
interview or
Ooh, I like
something.
that. I like that interview. I like that. But
Okay,
Insevere, I'm like, okay. Or I've heard I'm severe. I've heard Endeavor. I'm like, it's not Endeavor, mate. But thank you. That's a
Yes,
good one.
Endeavor. I like that one. Very good.
Endeavor.
Right.
I've heard plenty of those. So now I'm thinking, our generation
Right.
who are going to have kids, we need to properly sit and think like, is this word appropriate for people that are not Punjabi to say it in a somewhat
Mm,
similar way? So say if you're going to call a kid like, I don't know, Ahmed, yeah,
right.
Amar. I was like, all right, that's decent. But if you're gonna call something like Surjit and you get Surjit, not the
Oh,
same. Yeah,
Sarjita!
exactly. Right. Goodness gracious me reference. I'm like, hang on,
Yeah.
it's not the same, is it? It sounds really different. So I'm like,
Yeah, if I'm honest, I understand your point, and I know there's a trend about going to like kind of fusion names and things.
yeah,
But honestly, when I have kids, I think my headspace at the moment, I think she shares that view set, is to have traditional names
yeah.
and to actually for example, look at one of our friends, Kartar.
I was gonna
Yeah,
bring this one up. Yeah. His name is
great,
Qatar,
great,
Kartar.
right, great name, and then he's got obviously that nickname which is Carter,
No. His nickname is
which
Kate. But then if you listen to his
the
voicemail,
original, yeah.
it says Carter, and I'm like, that's not how you say your name, mate. Right? But he says that's
Yeah,
what people call me at work. I'm like,
yeah.
wow, that
We
is
should call
so
him
different.
or Cartier. Should we call him Cartier?
Cartier.
That's what we should call him. Yeah. Premium brand.
Going back to the tea. Some people
Yeah,
say
yeah.
tea is gone, aka horrible. I mean, that's very, very
Really?
controversial.
Wow.
Yeah. I wish I had
Wow.
the names of
Wow.
the people who said this. I bait him out, but I can't because it's polling.
Guns. Guns
People
means
say
waste, guys.
people say the saying is tea and sympathy. And I'm like, okay, but does it have the same effect when you're drinking tea alone? Who's giving you sympathy then?
Hmm.
Exactly.
Hmm. Well, when
Tea's
you drink
crap.
tea, tea's crap.
People say tea's crap. I need crisps and snacks. I'm like, you know what? I
Okay.
actually agree with that. If you give me a bunch of beverages and you offer me crisps and snacks, I will have that hands down every time.
Yeah, different times of day, isn't it? Like there's certain points where you want a glass of Ribena or something, and a pack of
Yeah.
crisps or chocolate. Yeah, I get that. But then there's certain times, afternoon tea, I really enjoy
I've
a
never
good
been to an
afternoon
afternoon
tea.
tea experience, to be fair. I think it would be
Right.
decent.
Okay.
But to me,
Listen.
it just seems like a hole of like just sweetness, right?
Listen.
Like you go in and you leave with the biggest sugar rush ever. That's what I
Galson.
envision it to be.
Galson. Okay. Your stag is going to be afternoon
I'm not
tea
doing afternoon tea, man. I
at
want to be shut
Downton Abbey. I'm going to take you to Downton Abbey, right? Highclere Castle. And we're just going to sit there and I'm going to teach you about the little finger and how to drink the
What's the
tea
little
and
finger
grades of
reference from
tea.
what I never understood? Why do people have the little finger?
Oh, it's just a personalized
It's
thing,
a
isn't it?
thing.
It's just a
It's a
bit of
personal thing.
swag, isn't it? The pinky swag.
It's not swag though. It looks weird. Why don't you just sip like that normal?
Or you just do the whole desi thing, when you have the donga and you just drink like this.
You know what, right? I used to get ripped for slurping on my tea. People were like, yeah. People were like, why are you
Yeah,
doing that? I said, because I'm drinking
right,
it out of a thermos, right? It's circular, it's
right.
going to spill everywhere. I have to suck it out.
Tarmos.
A
Tarmos.
thermos, thermos. Yeah, his mum calls it a thermos.
Tarmos.
Yeah. Yeah. So I drink out of
Okay.
that and I'm slurping. They're like, can you stop slurping? I'm like, I can't drink it any other way. If you give it to me in a cup, I'm all right. Right. But it's gonna spill otherwise.
On that note, I was having lunch yesterday. So I've got a colleague, doctor colleague I work with, really good friend, probably my best friend at work at the moment. He's a Lebanese guy. And then we got another consultant, really cool consultant. He's sitting in the room as well, and he's Arabic. Sorry, he's from the Middle East, and he speaks a lot of Arabic. And he started laughing, and I was like, what are you laughing about? And he said, I made this observation about the UK. And I said, oh, what is it? He said, here in the UK, if you burp, right,
Yeah,
people get really offended.
yeah,
But
they do.
if you fart, it's like really funny. And he said, back home, it's exactly the opposite. Like if you burp, everyone's like, okay, yeah, you're enjoying the food. And if you fart, they're like, that's really disgusting. And he goes, it's just, yeah. He goes, it's just really. And then the other thing he said is, right, people. I don't know if you do this. Some people eat and then they kind of just make like noise,
I used to do that. I used to get ripped for doing that, so I stopped.
right? And
My
he was
dad does
like, they
that
have.
all the time.
This guy was saying like they have a saying back home where they're like, are you a
Where's he from?
cow?
Just out of reference.
He is from Dubai,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
right? And he was like, they have a saying like, are you a cow? Or like, are you chewing
Yeah,
your
yeah,
cud?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
right.
eating, you're a
And
camel or some shit. Yeah,
so it's all about, like you said, about noises.
yeah,
And so slurping. Yeah, I don't think I'm not a slurper. I mean, I can get it if if your tea's really hot.
yeah. You
But
have
this
to
is nothing.
slurp.
This is nothing I don't get. Like my mom can drink tea, boiling water, siddha, like straight away, guys,
Like
like
straight
without
away without anything.
having to wait. And I'm there like, oh, let it cool down, and then I'm doing all this, and I'm putting one
Yeah, you
glass
have to
into
put it
another
in two
glass.
cups. For those of you that can't see the audio,
Yeah,
right? It's got two cups, and you
right.
drop it in between two. They used to do that, like with steel cups, try and cool it down, right?
Yeah, it does. It
Never
does work.
worked. No, it
No, it
doesn't
does
work,
work.
man. It never
It
made it
does.
cool.
Right. Challenge. If you're listening to this now, make a hot beverage, whether it be black coffee. I discovered this when I used to do night shifts. Okay, so my pre-night shift food thing, pre-shift, right, starting like 10 p.m. would be dinner. And then
Mm,
just before I left to drive in the car, 2 cups of black coffee. That was my thing to get wired for the night.
mm.
And this is before I actually discovered that, you know what, you can just have half boiling water and then half like fridge water or have some ice cubes. Don't know why I didn't think of that earlier.
Sorry,
But
what? Half boiling water, half fridge water, half and ice cubes. So you're
no, or
basically
ice
making a
cubes.
frappuccino.
Or ice cubes. So if I want to drink coffee straight away, like not have to
Yeah.
wait for it to cool, then yeah, I just do half boiling and half fridge or whatever kind of mix, and I can just drink it straight away. If I'm a bit more leisurely, like on a weekend, then I just let it, be boiling and I just let it cool or whatever. But pre-night shifts, I used to have that whole glass thing, like you're saying, to cool it down.
Mm.
And it really, really does work, man. But it takes quite a few. Like it's not just one or two. You have to keep doing it.
Yeah, you have to
And
keep doing it,
eventually,
and it seems like a lot of work for something to cool down.
yeah, absolutely.
I've started
But
doing
yeah,
this hack of like letting the kettle boil, and then when it's about to fully boil, I turn it off and then pour it. That way, it's not piping, and it'll cool down quicker.
okay, man, game changer right
See
there.
what I mean? But
Guys
you have to
listening
stand in
in,
front of the kettle,
life hacks,
be like,
life
oh,
hacks.
take it off.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah, that's it.
We have a
Yeah,
light. The light when the light goes off and the click goes, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
that's 100. So you got to know. My kettle starts shaking when it gets to that point.
When your kettle starts shaking.
Yeah. When it gets to that point, it's about to be like full. It's like, it's like looks like it's about to explode.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, this is close enough now, so I might as well start pouring. My old car used to that. I remember one of my old cars where I think it's my Mini, man. Like my Mini, when I used to get to like 90 on the motor. Like times where you just want to hit 100. Like doing in betweeners, you just want to know that I can hit 100. But like my grip on the wheel would be so tight. I'm like, oh my god, the car is just shaking now. I'm like bloody hell. And
God, every time
obviously,
I got into your car, it was the most uncomfortable experience of my life. Honestly, that Mini.
you've
You
been
have
in the Mini. Do you remember the Mini?
you, and Qatar, right? You put Qatar
You
in the
remember
front,
the
I'm
Mini?
in the back, and I'm like, this
Right.
is so horrible.
It's
How
not
can you
designed.
sit in the back for more than 10 minutes? You can't.
Yeah. It's only designed for two people. I mean, there are 4 seats, but really, it's just 2 seaters.
It's definitely a two-seater car. Yeah. And even if you're in the front, the seats all the way back, it's still not big enough, man. Definitely a car made for your size.
Yeah, absolutely. I do miss the Mini, man. I mean, yeah,
You've gone from the
Audi's
Mini
obviously
to
very
like
nice.
this big boat of a car now. Like
Yeah,
the contrast is
that
massive.
yeah, that's going. Soon it's going in April. The Audi A5. So
Ooh.
go back.
What's the next car?
A4. It's lined up.
Fair play.
A4 is estate. It's the next one. So yeah, excited to get that now.
Interesting. All right. So back to the coffee, back to the tea. One person
Yeah.
said because of colonialism. And I was like, oh, ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
That's
Probably.
true.
I mean, if you think about it, it probably is. Definitely taken over the world, Rule Britannia.
They went to India and they brought back the tea, didn't they? That was the.
Of course they do.